Welcome to the Missouri Liberty Alliance, where we work together to make Missouri the finest, freest state with the most liberties out of all 50 blessed United States of America. Guys, I've got a story for you. Oh, by the way, today is Saturday, and it's June 19th, 2021. Guys, I want to bring you this story. I'm going to bring you all stories from this point forward about SAPA. And this one's about O'Fallon Police Department. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Basically, the O'Fallon, Missouri police chief resigns, cites Governor Parson's attempt to invalidate federal gun laws. Okay, story begins. O'Fallon, Missouri. The O'Fallon, Missouri police chief resigned on Friday because of concerns of the poor wording and unintended consequences of a bill recently signed by Missouri Governor Mike Parson that seeks to invalidate federal gun laws in Missouri, according to the news release. Philip Dupois, I'm going to say Dupois, okay? By the way, if I am mangling his last name, I am truly sorry. That is not my intent. Philip Dupois had been the police chief since October of 2020, said the recently signed Second Amendment Preservation Act, which allows officers to be sued if they try to enforce federal gun laws, makes officers vulnerable during good faith justified seizures of firearms. Parsons signs the bill last week. It would be subject to subject officers who knowingly enforce federal gun laws to a fine of $50,000 per violating officer. And it continues. And by the way, this is a quote directly from the police chief. This vague language will create a flood of weaponized litigation that will chill the legitimate peacekeeping duties of police, Dupois said in a statement. This will decrease public safety and increase frivolous lawsuits designed to harass and penalize good, hardworking law enforcement agencies. Highly effective partnerships between local and federal law enforcement agencies will have to be reevaluated. In a letter sent to state officials Wednesday night and obtained by the Associated Press, Justice Department officials said that the federal law trumps state law and that Parson did not have the authority to enforce the new rule. Parson and Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt responded Thursday, said they will stand behind the state law. Dupois joined the O'Fallon Police Department after a 10-year stint as police chief in the suburb of Houston. That's Houston, Missouri, by the way. He was the city's second new police chief in as many years. City Administrator Mike Snowden and Major John Neske will take over as acting, said that Major John Neske will take over as acting police chief in O'Fallon. Okay, guys, I've got several things to say about this, and I'm going to go really quickly because I'm going to try and make my video shorter. First of all, poor wording and unintended consequences. Guys, I've read the Second Amendment Preservation Act, and I'm sure you have too. I don't think it's worded poorly at all. Actually, it spells things out pretty clearly. Unintended consequences of a bill, okay, unintended consequences of any bill. But in this case, this bill was designed to actually take our freedoms back from the federal government. And I don't think you want to call that unintended consequences. I think you want to probably call it benefits. So basically that's my opinion, that's his opinion, we'll leave it there. Okay, let's see, makes officers vulnerable during good faith justified seizures of firearms. Well, I'm not sure that officers are vulnerable, but once again he is talking about officers being sued for $50,000. Once again, not true. The language of the bill is very plain. The agency gets sued, not the officer. So at any rate, he is misinformed on that one. Okay, next point. The vague language will create a flood of weaponized litigation that will chill the legitimate peacekeeping duties of the police, Dupois said in a statement. This will decrease public safety and increase frivolous lawsuits designed to harass and penalize good, hardworking law enforcement agencies. Okay, gang, once again, it's a trade-off, isn't it? If we want to trade off our rights for safety, because that's essentially what he's saying, decrease public safety. Decrease public safety is what he said here. So I'll highlight that. So is that what the bill was intended to do, is take away our safety? Or was it actually to give us our freedoms back? We got it back. Through standard, normal litigation, legislation, that's how we did it. We didn't overthrow the government. We literally used the 10th Amendment that said we could do this, an anti-commandeering doctrine that said we could do this, and has been upheld by the Supreme Court. These articles never cover this, ever. Ever. They just simply say, well, supremacy clause, United States supremacy clause, and they say it over and over again, as Michael had pointed out in the last video that I had shown. So at any rate, one more thing. Highly effective partnerships between local and federal law enforcement agencies will have to be reevaluated. On all things Second Amendment, that is absolutely true. That was the point of the bill. That was the point. is to get the Fed out of Missouri for Second Amendment infringements. They're molesting the Second Amendment at literally the federal level. They're molesting it. I use that word on purpose, guys, because it evokes something. So at any rate, I wanted to bring this story to you because we're going to be going through more of this. The mainstream media, the federal government, and who knows who else, is going to do nothing but negative stories on the Second Amendment Preservation Act. And they're already predicting, just like they did with constitutional concealed carry, we were going to become the Wild West in Missouri. Gosh darn it, I remember those stories, and I really wish that I had saved them. From KY3 and other local news affiliates, law enforcement people were literally saying, well, if we get this bill, we're talking about sheriffs and police chiefs. Not all of them. Not all of them, so please don't get the wrong, impression here. They were saying that we were going to have the Wild West in Missouri if everyone could carry a concealed weapon, which is what constitutional concealed carry means. You don't have to go to the government and get a permit to be able to carry under constitutional carry. That's what it's all about. So, okay, I've covered that story and I've covered my problems with it, but let's go ahead and look at the language of the bill. Now, this is the Second Amendment Preservation Act, HB 85, as passed by both the Senate and the House, signed by the governor, and of course ending up in Eric Schmidt's office. It's now law. So let's find out if the police chief was right or wrong about who gets sued. So we're looking at page 6 of the bill. Everything's linked down below as always. Section 1.460. 1. Any political subdivision or law enforcement agency that employs a law enforcement officer who acts knowingly is defined under Section 562.016 to violate the provisions of Section 1.450 or otherwise knowingly deprives a citizen of Missouri of the rights or privileges ensured by Amendment 2 of the Constitution of the United States under Article 1, Section 23 of the Constitution of Missouri, while acting under the color of any state or federal law, will be liable to the injured party in an action at law, suit in equity, and other proper proceeding for redress, and the subject for civil penalty of $50,000 per occurrence. That's right, and it's per person as well. So basically, who's the subject of this? It actually begins right here at the very beginning. Any political subdivision or law enforcement agency that employs a law enforcement officer who acts knowingly. Guys, the language is pretty clear here. And by the way, I'm not that smart of a guy. But to me, it says the agency gets sued. So the police chief in O'Fallon either didn't read the bill, or his advice was coming from a city attorney that didn't read the bill, because I think that's pretty clear. But he is now saying, he said the reason he resigned is because individual officers could be sued. Now, that was the language of the bill back in January, but it was changed when the Missouri Sheriff's Association came in, and lots of sheriffs started getting involved in the legislative process. So it is now the agency, not the person. So that clears that up. He is absolutely wrong, and I hope that he finds out that he was wrong, and maybe he can try and get his job back after he's quit. I don't know. Okay, so once again, carrying the news, Fed tells Missouri SAPA won't fly. The feds are telling Missouri officials that the state cannot ignore federal gun laws. A top Justice Department official sent a letter to Governor Parson yesterday, Wednesday, so this is a couple of days old, says that supremacy clause in the U.S. Constitution outweighs the measure the governor signed into law last week. The law penalizes local police departments if their officers enforce federal gun rules. The feds told Parson and Attorney General Eric Schmidt that they must clarify the law. Well, I've already covered this in the letter they sent back. And we don't have to clarify the law. The law is pretty clear. The bill is pretty clear. You can have all the federal laws you want, federal government. It's just we're not going to acknowledge them or enforce them in the state of Missouri. We're not stopping you from doing federal law. We're not citing the fact that you're unconstitutional with all the laws you create at the federal level. We're not even talking about the 3 branches of government that are coming after firearms, totally in violation of the Second Amendment. We're talking about the executive branch through executive order, coming after firearms, firearm accessories, what have you. We're talking about the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals saying that concealed carry is illegal and it affects some 9 states. And then we have Congress with all kinds of squirrely bills to take away your Second Amendment rights. All 3 branches of the federal government are coming after guns. Missouri's doing something about it. Other states need to as well. It would be a shame if we were alone. We became an island of Second Amendment freedoms, and everyone came here to Missouri just to enjoy their Second Amendment rights. But if other states don't act, it may end up being that way. Okay, covering something in Facebook, and first of all, I want to give a shout out to Jean Rose Ballet, who is in Open Carry, Missouri, which is a Facebook group. I want to comment on something that he had put in Facebook and give him a shout out as well. I don't know if he watches these videos or not. I do post them in the Facebook gun groups. Missouri's Second Amendment Preservation Act is based on the same principle as 1, the sale of marijuana in certain states, forbidden by the federal law, and 2, sanctuary states. States refuses to cooperate with the federal ICE agency, and yet while the media focuses on our SAPA. They have no problem with 1 and 2. Does the hypocrisy never end? Does the media think that we deplorables are so stupid that we cannot see their game? Since the signing, the Justice Department has warned Missouri officials that the state can't ignore federal law. Okay, I'd like to comment on this. And first of all, once again, Gene, wonderful write-up. Thank you very much for that. You're absolutely right. The federal government says marijuana is illegal. States say, yes, it is. Does the federal government come in and literally use federal agents to go after marijuana dispensaries in these other states? The answer is no. It's using the same anti-commandeering doctrine. We will not enforce those laws, those federal laws. We are saying in our state, and by the way, I'm not saying Missouri, I'm speaking generally, let's say California, we're saying in our state marijuana is legal. And therefore, it's going to be legal. We're going to sell it. We're going to collect taxes on it. We're going to actually make it, totally legal. It's just as legal as, pharmaceutical medications. And so the federal government is not going after the state of California, the state of Washington, the state of whatever. We have medical marijuana in Missouri. I'm not sure that recreational use is legal here. I don't think it is, though. So this is a hypocrisy. The federal government says marijuana is illegal. Let's move to point 2. Let's see. That would be cooperate with federal ICE agencies. So we're talking about illegal immigration. So we're talking about sanctuary cities. There's a big hot topic 3-4 some odd years ago. And the federal government literally, was upset with California. But they were simply saying, we're ignoring your immigration laws. We're setting up sanctuary cities where, immigration laws no longer apply. And unfortunately, they have the right to do so. They actually do. And they used anti-commandeering doctrine, the same doctrine we're using for SAPA, to do it. And all it says is our law enforcement agencies will not enforce federal laws for immigration in these sanctuary cities. Right? But did the federal government go in and literally, force local law enforcement or tell the government of California, the governor, you can't do this. You can't do this. It violates our supremacy clause. No, we didn't hear that at all. So that's the hypocrisy that Gene is talking about in this post. He is correct. So, we're going to continue to see more and more of this negative news about SAPA, and there's a reason why. It's because we're the only state that has teeth in our SAPA bill. The other states are not even being mentioned by the federal government. That's because there's no ramifications. No ramifications for law enforcement to help the Fed. None. They literally took them out of bill, and I'm almost positive it's because they didn't have enough grassroots support to keep them in the bill. And a special salute and a tip of my hat to Jared Taylor and to Eric Burleson, who kept the teeth in the bill. If these guys did not keep the teeth in, they wouldn't be worth their salt, or at least the bill wouldn't be. So at that point, you throw the bill out and you try again next year, because it's an ineffective, totally stupid bill that's really just a feel-good bill. So I want to give a shout out to someone else here too that we don't talk about too often. That's Aaron Dorr at the Missouri Firearms Coalition. Aaron was absolutely critical to getting this legislation passed in the state of Missouri. And I have talked before about Aaron spreading it across the United States. I didn't really explain why. Aaron not only runs the Missouri Firearms Coalition, but also runs the Iowa Gun Owners Association. So he's trying to get the same legislation passed in Iowa that he did in Missouri. He's not a hypocrite. He's not just in it for Missouri. He's actually helping other states do the same thing. So my shout out is to everyone in Iowa. If you're not familiar with the Iowa gun owners, please familiarize yourself with them and consider a membership. Give them an email. Tell them you want to help. Start a YouTube channel. You know, the Iowa Liberty, Alliance, whatever. You can do whatever you want, but start the grassroots. Get support behind the bill. The bill's in legislation. So I'm not going to cover this whole story here, because basically what he was talking about is how we all came together and we got this done in Missouri, and now it's time to get it done in Iowa. And I've always said from the very beginning of this entire project, when I got involved in this, that if there was another state we could help somehow, we would do it. So I'd like to literally give a shout out and ask for someone to come forward that wants to start the grassroots effort, start a YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I mean, whatever you guys want to do. But the reason why we got our bill passed with teeth was grassroots. Here's the strange thing about Missouri, gang. There's an awful lot of people that still don't even know this law even exists, because the mainstream media ignored it. And anytime they talked about it so lightly that no one knew what it was about. And on top of which, it was negative. So basically, I'd like to do a tip of the hat to Aaron Dorr, let him know we know how important he is, and now he's trying to get this done in Iowa, and everyone in Iowa needs to work with him on this to get this done. So, guys, if you're in Iowa, please get the bill information out there for everyone. Get on Facebook. You guys have to be, there's probably Facebook places in Iowa for firearms like we have in Missouri. There's probably a ton of them, actually. So start getting active to get this done. Even if you can't do it this year, you can set up literally the framework for getting it done next year. You can pave the road that you will be traveling next year to get this done. And I promise you, I will get up all the videos on this channel for what we did in SAPA in 2021, and I will do it soon. I've had a lack of time. But we will get that up here for you guys to actually have, references and resources to know what we went through to get this bill done. So once again, basically a shout out to Aaron Dorr at the Missouri Firearms Coalition, also the Iowa gun owners. Consider a membership with his organization. Work with him. Start grassroots, gang. That's what you got to do. And that's how you keep your teeth in your bill, as so many other states have found out this year. Okay, I want to thank you very much for joining us on our journey to make Missouri the best state in the United States of America for liberty and freedom. I want to say thank you very much for spending a few minutes with us today. I also want to say, may God bless each and every one of you and all of your families, and may God bless you in all of your endeavors that you're working towards your goals. And I wish you a happy Saturday, and have a good rest of your weekend. Take care, gang.